Hey everybody, and welcome back to another commission painting vlog. This is number blah, 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 because I don't remember what number it is. I think it's 15. I am today finishing up this monster. This is Archeon Everchosen. He actually just finished up this morning, and I just put pictures up, which I will put up here somewhere. And he's kind of a beast. Like, not literally a beast, but a beast in the sense that he is a ton of work to do. You've got the rider, you've got the three heads, you've got this massive body, and there's a lot going on there. I'm at this point, I have mixed feelings about GW models. On the one hand, they're beautiful. They're really, really nice. On the other hand, I feel like they're busy. They're a little busy. There's like almost, not even almost, there's too much going on every piece. It's like they just try to, like, what else can we do? Well, he needs armor. Well, what else can we do? Well, he should have cracks in his scales with like heat coming out of them. Okay, well, what else can we do? Skulls. We need more skulls. And yeah, so it gets to be just a little much, because whenever you think you're done, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot to do that. Oh yeah, I forgot to do that. Oh yeah, there's this other thing over here. Oh, and there's all these little bits. And I don't know that it necessarily lends itself to being better. It certainly makes it more complex. It makes it more visually interesting to a point. But my favorite dragon at this point, and this is very similar to a dragon, is the Kingdom Death Monster. Very straightforward, very simple. Basic dragon forms, taken in its own direction, with the real sort of difference being the thing in its chest that just sort of pops out at you. Well, it's not really popping out as much as you can see inside of the chest, and there's like a head in there. But also the face is really interesting. And this is, like I said, this is really cool. But just so busy. So busy. So anyway, he's done. I like it. It came out well, I think. But I don't know. At this point, I'm not sure how I feel about GW models anymore. I get to do so much stuff now that sometimes when I get GW stuff, I'm like, but it's what I'm working on today. And luckily, these are some of the more traditional, straightforward models. Oh, that one's mine. I actually traded my Inquisitor Eisenhorn model for an uncompleted Eisenhorn model. I'm actually excited to be able to do it again, although I liked the one that I did previously, and perhaps I'll even show you a picture of it. What was neat about it, at the time I was still doing custom decals, and the decals on this one were the trim along the edge, and the edge of his cape. And I thought it really came out good. And it's one of those things where you wouldn't automatically assume that it's a decal because it doesn't look like a decal that you would just buy off the shelf. And so a lot of people thought that I had hand painted this design with all these exact right angles to it. Like, no, couldn't even if I wanted to. But I got a lot of cool chaos stuff. This is, what is this? Dark Apostle. This is Navigator. Actually, I'm really looking forward to doing this one. The Navigators are super, super cool. And a Gaunt Summoner. So yeah, these will all be fun. I'm super excited. But what else have I been doing? Well, April was a busy month. I'd actually been overbooked to a certain extent, and I tried to give myself one weekend day off a month, or a week, a month. That wouldn't be much. Last year, I don't know, some of you may know this, but last year, I could probably count the entire days off that I took during that year on one hand. And I don't want to repeat that this year. I want to see if I can at least do as much work as I was doing before, and yet have some time to myself, time to do things like play games. Wouldn't that be nice? But other things, I have a number of hobbies, which has been a problem in the past. But in any case, I have a lot of things I'd like to be able to do aside from just paint minis for other people. And so I probably shouldn't have kind of overbooked myself in addition to taking on, or in addition to trying to do days off. But it was, it's good to push yourself sometimes. So the only thing that really slipped was, well, I'm not going to show you again, but it's the Archeon. He slipped by about 5 days. So right now I'm at the point where I'm trying to make up the time that I lost. And really 5 days means that had I not taken those days off, I could very easily have completed everything. But, what are you going to do? But I am pleased overall with what I was able to accomplish last month. So even without Archeon, it was an overfull month compared to a normal month for last year. So that worked out really good. Oh, and one of the things I'm doing now to better track my productivity is I have gotten myself a bit of time tracking software. And the time tracker allows me to sort of break down projects however I like and track each element of those. But right now I'm limiting it to just building and painting. And I don't know, like for small projects like this, well, you know what, as I talk through this, I'm realizing that I probably should do it for each individual model, because for this project is fairly small. And it's all individual models. I don't remember what these are. Oh, I remember what these are. I can't remember what they're called. They're little bird dudes. And they're not GW models. Anyway, but my point is that with the app, I should be able to better figure out how much time I'm spending on individual projects, how much I make then on a per day, per hour basis, and how much work I'm actually getting done in a day, as opposed to, well, anything else that I might happen to get distracted by. And so overall, I think this is it's gonna work out well for me. The first thing that I used on this was Archeon. And, he was a lot of work. But when you break down those hours per day, you realize, oh, I don't really get as much done in a day as I thought I did, because there's a lot of other little things that you have to do. You're packing up orders, and you're shipping orders, and you're answering emails. And I have my little Etsy store now, which I'm selling stencils. I will provide a link somewhere, at least in the description. There'll be a link. And that it all needs to fit in somewhere. So, figuring that out can be a pain. One interesting thing that I'm doing right now is I got a number of sample, whoa, sample paints for watercolors. And he's working on a range of, let's call them base colors for, so that you understand what I'm talking about. But they're heavily pigmented colors meant to be used for base coating. And as I've said in the past, the one thing the paint line is not particularly good for is base coating. And I do tend to, right now, use Vallejo or Citadel or one of the other lines for my base coating, and then pretty much do everything else with watercolors. Except for, with some exceptions. There are some colors that I can base with and works out just fine. And if I'm airbrushing, I can kind of base coat with any of their paints except for the translucent or transparents, because airbrush makes everything better. But I tried these out yesterday. The Archeon actually was the first model that got some use for these. I think specifically the golden yellow. And the golden yellow was able to cover really well. So this is actually the first thing I did, is I just quickly put this is just one coat of the golden yellow over black. And as you can see, it covers, reasonably well for one coat. And it goes on really smooth. And a second coat should cover that completely. So I was very happy with where that's going. I don't know where he is with the line. And my assumption is that there'll be kind of one for every color block, because he sells his paints in groups of 5. So you'd have the brown line, the flesh line, the red line, orange, yellow, ochre. So my guess is, and what he does also, like the transparency, every one of those colors has a transparent equivalent. Every one of those colors has a metallic equivalent, I think. Maybe not every one. But that seems to be the direction he's going with that. And the way these are labeled, well, this one says golden yellow base. And there's no golden yellow, color line. So this would work with orange, or this could work with yellow, potentially. But the blue is just blue, and the turquoise is just turquoise. So, I don't know. I've asked, but I just did that this morning, so I don't have a response yet. So I made an interesting discovery this week. I saw an article about my camera line, the one I'm using to record this right now. For those of you who don't know, I use a Sony Alpha 6000, Sony A6000, and it's been a fantastic camera. I cannot help but sing its praises, but one of the weird little idiosyncrasies to this thing, and frankly, I think the last camera that I own, the Nikon D3200, was that there's a limit to the amount of video time. This will run video for 20 minutes, give or take, and then just shut down. I never could quite figure that out. One of my assumptions was maybe, because the camera can have a heat problem, I've heard reported, although I've never experienced the problem myself. And I thought maybe it was because they knew that over 20 minutes it was likely to shut down anyway. But it found out this week that the only reason that limitation is in place is because then it gets classified as a still camera as opposed to a video camera in Japan, and that helps it in terms of taxes. And so some enterprising individuals have actually been hacking this line of cameras, and one of the things they were able to remove was that cap. So I'm not quite ready to hack my camera, lest I perhaps brick it. But it's nice to know that I might be able to remove that weird limitation that has actually vexed me a little bit. Because as these videos go long, I have to reach back and shut it off and then turn it back on and start again so that I don't accidentally run into that 20-minute limit, which I have done before. So, yeah. So I'm actually backing a Kickstarter right now. I don't do a lot of these. My feeling with Kickstarter has always been, I'll wait till it's available at retail, because I own a store. So backing Kickstarters always seems a little weird because, well, I own a store. But this one has sort of gotten me a little excited. It is called Blood and Plunder. It is a historical pirate miniatures game set in the early age of pirates. So we're talking late 1600s, mid to late 1600s, maybe early 1700s. And the miniature line looks really nice. The way they're approaching the game itself is really nice. Like it's a historical game and not a sort of fantasy pirate game. The rules look pretty solid. I like how the rules look. And if you have any interest in historical pirates at all, then I highly recommend checking out the Kickstarter. As of today, I think it has 12 days left. They've got blown well past the funded stage and have added a number of different stretch goals. And the latest one that they've opened up is a new faction, which I don't think I'm going to get, because right now it's a couple of variations of Spanish and a couple of variations of English, and the new one is just straight up Buccaneers. And I kind of want the English ones because they kind of go with something else that I'm interested in. And so I'm probably just going to do that. Not that I wouldn't buy other stuff later, but you never know. It's a Kickstarter. Again, another reason I don't buy Kickstarters is because it sort of throws everything in the air in terms of potential availability in the future. So, but yeah, take a look at that. I will again include a link in the description down there. So go have a look. So what have I been gaming recently? Because I mentioned I have been taking time off to game, and I have gamed almost every Saturday or Sunday for the last month. And that has been pretty much just Age of Sigmar. Yes, I'm playing Age of Sigmar, and you know what? It's pretty damn good, and I have been seriously enjoying it. It has brought me back into the Warhammer universe in a way that the old game really just couldn't anymore. It had completely lost me, but now I'm back to feeling like a Warhammer player. It is exactly the kind of game I want. And I knew when this came out that I would probably enjoy this, but at the same time, I wasn't exactly excited to just jump right back into it again, because I'd felt like I was kind of done with Warhammer, and none of my real gaming friends right now were necessarily interested in it. And I did buy a starter set early, but then I kind of just left it sitting on the shelf for a while. But then one of my friends said, this looks really cool and I want to play. And so we jumped in and have been playing, and I like it. I really like it. Now, let me just say, the lack of a point system was odd. I thought that was a really odd decision on GW's part. And I feel like, in a way, it was an experiment for them to see, I think Warhammer was doing bad enough that they couldn't screw it up any worse. And so they went, let's try no point system. It's kind of an old school way to do things. Historical gamers have been doing that really since the beginning of wargaming. And so they experimented with it, and I think the experimented went well. Now, not to say that there weren't detractors, and there were certainly people who said they were not going to play it purely for that reason. And in the interim, a number of point systems did pop up, and a competitive community has sort of rallied around one or more of those systems so that they could actually do tournaments. And now Games Workshop has decided, I guess, that the experiment is over, and that while successful to a certain extent, and at least as much as the game is selling and people are buying it and playing it, they could do more if they were to add a point system. And so, if you didn't know this already, sometime this summer, GW will be releasing the General's Compendium or General's Handbook, something like that, that'll include the 3 ways to play the game. The current sort of out-of-the-box way, which is no point system, throw whatever you want on the table and play. The narrative gameplay system, which is sort of in place now with the different, I don't even know what they refer to them as, but just essentially scenario play. And then the 3rd way will include some form of point system, which we don't know the exact details of, although some prominent community members, podcasters, bloggers, things like that, were invited to GW to actually play the game with the point system, I believe, or at least to get a look at it. But that brings to rise another interesting thing, and that is that what the hell is going on with GW? It seems like over the last 6 months, they have been making this big turnaround and kind of backtracking on questionable decisions they've made in the past. For example, not reaching out to the community at all, and now inviting them in to things like that, or opening up Facebook groups so that people could, share their experiences. And it's really weird. But I feel like, if you'd been away from GW for a while, or not really had much of an interest in what they were doing and just felt like they were out of touch and weren't doing cool things anymore, now would be a good time to kind of take a look at what's going on with them. So just something to think about. Just back to Age of Sigmar, I'm really enjoying it. And for me, it's no models are off limits. If I see anything that I just feel like painting, which is normally how I decide, what game I want to play, I can just do it and throw it in my army, and that's fine. But if I want to be more faction focused, I can do that. The game is really fun. I think people thought early on that it was just going to be, charge into the middle and bunch up and just stay there and throw dice until somebody was dead. And it's not that at all. I actually feel like, to me, it feels like a slimmed down War Machine. It's like War Machine without all of the fiddly bits. The game seems to play very similarly, and the tactics are very similar. And at the same time, I feel like there's more room for terrain and such in the game. But, but I like it. And if you've been on the fence about it at all, now would be a good time to think about trying it. There's got to be people in your area who are throwing dice around with this game somewhere. So see if you can jump in. So a quick update on the Assault Carrier. Last month, I got almost nothing done. And that was primarily because I had figured out everything that I needed in terms of electronic supplies. But I was going to source everything from Adafruit, which I really liked that company in general, but I didn't need much from them. I needed probably $10 worth of supplies, and they only ship via UPS. So this super light, $10 or less order would have cost $18 in shipping. So I ended up on Amazon, and the parts were really cheap, but they were coming from China and they took forever. And so everything did recently show up, So I'm expecting to get back to work on that very, very shortly. And on the 3D printing side of the project, I have been on the cusp of ordering my own 3D printer, and I'm trying really hard to justify it, and I haven't quite been able to do that yet. So that's why I haven't done another pass on the cargo pods. But I really should just do that, and maybe get this whole idea of buying my own printer out of my head, because it's not necessary. It would be super helpful in many ways, and sort of make that whole process of iterations of, you know, what I'm trying to do go faster. But it's not necessarily, in order to get one, I need it to pay for itself. I haven't quite figured out how to do that yet. So, yeah. So that's where that project stands at the moment. Sorry that's been taking so long, but I'm going to get right back to it shortly. So one thing that happened last month is that I got I got slowed down on producing these videos. In fact, I really only produced 2 videos last month, even though technically I released 3, but one of those was recorded the previous month, and so I was able to fold it into the next month, and I still only managed to get 3 videos out, and I shoot for 4 at a minimum, and so I only got 3. So this month I've got this, but one of the nice things is, if you haven't noticed, I'm actually back in my shop now, and that makes the whole video production process a little easier, at least in terms of shooting the videos, because I can leave my equipment set up just like right there where it is. And it's a lot easier to get things over the workbench because it can be over there and not over here, which gets in the way. And so that whole process becomes a lot easier. It doesn't necessarily mean that I still get the stuff done, but as long as the camera's there, I can just do it. And so I have some ideas for things I'm going to be doing. The Kingdom Death Dragon was super popular, the last one I did, and I have another one coming up. So I think I may do a more full-on series on how I paint that. I have a number of other models from the Kingdom Death line that I might do. The Kingdom Death stuff in particular has been fairly popular, and I've been wanting to do it. Oh, and this! So one of the things I used to get asked about a lot, and not so much recently, but when I first did my Halo Fleet Battles Covenant paint job, I specifically say in the video that this is a paint job that you cannot do with a brush, that it really requires an airbrush to do the techniques that I show. And that is certainly true. I certainly stand by that statement, but I've been wondering for a while whether or not there wasn't another way I could approach getting a similar finish with a brush. So I did this, and I'm actually really, really happy with how this came out. And this was all done, this was mostly done with a brush, but it wasn't done with an airbrush at all. This was either done with a brush. And here, take another look at it. Oh, nope, I'm out of the light. There we go. This was done with a brush or with a spray can. And so does not require an airbrush to do. And I did the one side, and I have not done the other side. So my plan is to do a video that features me painting the other side. And frankly, this side isn't done either. I haven't done all the details, but I'm not sure, but I think I actually like this version better than my airbrushed version. So I've been wanting to share that, and I just haven't had a chance to get around with it, even though it's just ready to go. It's mostly because it requires taking time out of my other painting duties. But I think I'm going to catch up this month, and so I should be able to squeeze this in. So perhaps we can look forward to that later this month. I hope so, because I really want to get this finished. Well. So I think that's going to do it for the vlog today. Thank you so much for watching. And as I always say, if you liked the video, click like on the video. And if you want to make sure that you see more of my videos in the future, then hit subscribe, because then you'll get handy, updates then when I have new stuff appear and that kind of thing. And if you're feeling really excited about this particular video and you want to help support future videos, you now have 2 ways to do that. The first is Patreon. You can subscribe via Patreon. Real easy to do. There's a link in the description. You can go right in and you can subscribe, unless you're already a patron, in which case you're getting the commercial-free version and you don't need to listen to this part anyway. If you are interested in just a one-time contribution with no later commitment, then you should find a link somewhere nearby that will take you straight to a way that you can just, drop however much you want, and just to say thank you for the videos and thank you for supporting us. Us? The royal us, the royal we. That's going to do it for now. I'll talk to y'all later. This one goes off camera. This one does not. There we go. I have a new monitor. It's right there. You probably noticed me looking at it. Bye. Bright. Bye.